Americans awoke the morning of September 11, 2001, no one could have imagined the day taking such a tragic turn. September 11th is a day Americans will never forget. And today we gather together to remember and reflect on a day and the 2,977 plus Americans who tragically lost their lives 17 years ago. Through the events of September 11th shocked our nation to the core. It quickly became clear the group of radical extremists had misjudged the strength and purpose and determination of the people of the United States. More than a decade later, thousands of our nation's finest have paid the ultimate price for our freedom, and thousands more have returned home, bearing the physical and mental scars of battle. The terrorist attack 17 years ago did not weaken us or dampen our spirit. Out of the twisted steel and rubble, out of the clouds and smoke and dust, and out of the sacred scar field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, our sense of patriotism was reborn. Instead of being defeated, Americans and freedom-loving people from all over the world united. And together, in a time of disbelief, chaos, and great loss, we boldly stood together as a nation and refused to succumb to the fear or despair. It truly became one of our finest hours. This tragedy served to remind the world of everything America stands for, that Americans will always stand tall and strong against violence and evil, and that we will fight for the freedoms to live our lives free from tyranny and fear. We stood tall to safeguard the American dream, the very way of life so many of us have fought and died to protect, and what so many of our new generation of service members continue to selflessly put their lives on the line to defend today. So there is no doubt the memory of the innocent lives taken as a result of this September 11th attack will remain etched in our minds. The heroic acts displayed by firefighters, police officers, emergency personnel, and the average American citizen alike. Moments of valor, courage, and selflessness reminded all of us and the rest of the world of the ever-present American value that have carried our nation to admirably from century to century. From the outside looking in, many will never understand our way of life. They will never comprehend, nor will they accept the basic premise upon which our great nation was built: independence, justice, and sovereignty. And there's no question that America will still face threats in our way of life, whether it be overseas or right here on American soil. The events of 9/11 serve as an eternal reminder that freedom is never free. We must continue to act to ensure forces of ignorance and hatred never prevail. And we must always endeavor to put forth every effort and be willing to sacrifice in order to ensure our way of life prevails for future generations. Before leaving here today, let's pause to honor the victims and those selflessly sacrifice, protect, and defend the freedom by recommitting ourselves to our families, to our community, and to our country. For generations, America has served as a beacon of hope and light in the world. We must continue to be that inspiration. That's the best way to honor the memory of those lost during the events of September 11th. We will now call on the Council President, Dennis Damasio, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now have the national anthem by the Carteret High School Band. It gives me a great honor at this time to introduce the Honorable Mayor of the Borough of Carteret, Daniel J. Reiman. Mayor.
Thank you, Commander Lasicki. Give Commander Lasicki a round of applause for all that he does for Carteret, and most especially for our veterans around our nation. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us here at Carteret Park at our 9/11 Memorial. It seems like just yesterday, as vivid and surreal as a movie, but it was 17 years ago today, in 2001. Just a few miles from Carteret, across the water in Manhattan, in Virginia at the Pentagon, and in a field in Pennsylvania. Our friends, family members, and fellow Americans were suddenly taken from us without warning. On that day, we here in Carteret lost 3 members of our community, of our small town family, Colleen, Jayceryll, and Joseph. Each year, their family and their friends honor us with their presence. And we welcome them back here to Carteret. And this year, as we remember lives cut short far too soon. This year, we're also honored to be joined by the family members of Michael Mustillo, who worked for the New York, New Jersey Port Authority and passed away because of the effects of 9/11, the debris and the on-site cleanup, where he worked for days, weeks, and months at Ground Zero after this tragedy. In total, nearly 3,000 people were killed, and more than 6,000 were injured that day. But as the years passed, we here in New Jersey and New York have lost more first responders, more volunteers, and other service workers who were there to assist at Ground Zero. This, the 9/11 disaster, will affect many more families as time continues to pass, and as more and more of those first responders, those Port Authority employees, and the service workers are diagnosed with 9/11's disease. We accept that we will never recover all that we lost on that tragic day, and in the expanse of time that has followed, including our loved ones who were taken, or the military personnel who made this ultimate sacrifice to ensure that no such attack ever occurs again on the shores of our nation. Over 2.7 million Americans have gone to war since 9/11. Over 2.7 million men and women, American heroes, who, as former President Obama noted, were men and women who left behind lives of comfort for 2, 3, 4, or sometimes 5 tours of duty. And many carried dark memories from distant places and the legacy of fallen friends. He said, quote, "The wages of war are great, and while their service to our nation is full of glory, war itself is never glorious." I've spoken in the past about the connections that we as Americans share, united as one nation by an unwavering commitment to freedom, not only for ourselves, but for people of all nations across the globe. It's that commitment that draws people to this country and makes this country the greatest nation in all of human history. The United States has been called a melting pot, and its diversity is its greatest strength. Carteret also, as one of the most diverse towns in the state of New Jersey, draws its strength from the many cultures, religions, and ethnicities of which our residents are comprised. As President Ronald Reagan once said, the United States of America is and must remain a nation of openness to people of all beliefs. Our very unity has been strengthened by this pluralism. That's how we began. That is how we must always be. The ideals of our country leave no room whatsoever for intolerance, for anti-Semitism, or bigotry of any kind. As we look around here tonight, as we shop at the shopping center, as we walk our parks, or come to community events, we see the diversity reflected in those gathered here to remember September 11th. We draw strength from each other as a community, from our family and our friends, and we're confident in our ability as one people, as one nation, to continue to heal and to continue to move forward. But we must never forget. Almost 2 decades later, we gather here annually to visit this memorial of those lost. And as the former president foresaw, He said, we, quote, know that nothing can break the will of a truly united States of America, and that it can be said of us that we kept the faith, that we took a painful blow on 9/11, but we emerged stronger as a nation. May God bless the memory of those we lost. May God bless the borough of Carteret and our great United States of America. And may God continue to bless the men and women serving our nation in the military today. Thank you. Before I turn our program back over to Commander Lasicki, who's serving as our Master of Ceremonies tonight, let me introduce for a wave our members of the governing body, our Council President Dennis Damasio, Councilman Vinnie Bellino, Councilwoman Susan Naples, Councilman Ajmar Johal, Councilman Jorge Diaz, Councilman Randy Crum, representing her colleagues from the New Jersey General Assembly, representing our Speaker of the General Assembly, who represents Carteret, his colleague, Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez. Give her a round of applause. And I'm happy to call up for a few brief remarks someone who has been a friend to Carteret for so many years, since he married up and moved up many years ago from Woodbridge to Carteret. He joins us as our freeholder director and as a resident of our community. Please welcome for a few brief remarks, Freeholder Director Ron Rios.
Thank you all for joining us at this remembrance. 17 years have passed since the horrific attacks of the World Trade Center, or United Flight 93, and the Pentagon that claimed the lives of nearly 3,000 people, including civilians, flight crews, police, firemen, and many volunteers as well. The memories of 9/11 are still painful, but in the face of our tremendous loss, we will continue to honor every man, woman, and child that was taken from us. I know this is especially true here in Carteret, where 3 families lost their loved ones. And let's take a moment to remember Jayceryll DeChavez, Colleen Ann Meehan, and Joe Mangano. Jayceryll, Colleen, and Joe will remain in our hearts forever and our memories. And these trees were planted as a symbol of that promise. As you watch these trees grow and change each year, remember that our love for them will also continue to grow like these trees. We need to take that love and use it to go stronger. To the other families who lost loved ones that day, thank you for being with us once again. We will never truly understand the pain that you go through, but I think we can all agree that what helped the United States to move forward after 9/11 was the love and support of friends and family and neighbors. And we extend that love to you today. Only by standing together can we truly stand up for what is important: peace, understanding, and freedom from fear. Sadly, many people that survived 9/11 later developed serious problems. You may have heard about retired New York detective George Bender, who worked on the site of the World Trade Center for weeks after the attacks. And also, of course, for Michael Mustillo, our own. Mr. Bender developed PTSD and that has left him unable to leave his home. His house came very close to foreclosure. You may also have learned that since March 2018, 3 FBI agents have died of illnesses related to working at Ground Zero. As U.S. citizens, it is our duty to show our support for those who suffered illness or injury on 9/11, and to urge our federal legislators to fight for proper medical attention for all survivors. Once again, Thank you for all of you for joining us in this solemn ceremony. In the years to come, I hope our children and grandchildren will gather here to remember those lost and to continue working towards peace. May God bless you. May God bless America. Thank you.
We will now have the playing of America the Beautiful by the Carteret High School Band. This is not on the program, but we added this in. Gloria Lisicki will recite a beautiful poem, The Lady in the Harbor.
I'm little. I wonder what she thought as she stood there strong and tall. She couldn't turn away. She was first forced to watch it all. Did she long to offer comfort as her country bled, with her arms forever frozen high above her head? She could not shield her eyes, she could not hide her face. She just stared across the waters, keeping freedom's place. The smell of smoke and terror somehow reduced her size, so small within the harbor, but we still recognize. How dignified and beautiful on a day so many died. I wondered what she thought, and I know she must have cried.
We're going to have the lighting of the candles. The families, please come forward. The Meehan family, the DeChavez family, and the Mangano family. Now would the Mustillo family please come forward? Oh, there's, okay, I'm sorry. We will now have the ringing of bells by the Carteret Fire Department Chief Pereshko.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight and taking time out of your busy schedules. We're going to go through our service for the American heroes that responded to the towers that day. And during this, a total of 411 emergency workers responded to the scene and died as they attempted to rescue people and fight the fires. The New York City Fire Department lost 341 firefighters, 2 New York City Fire Department paramedics. The New York City Police Department lost 23 firefighters. The Port Authority Police Department lost 37, and 8 additional EMTs and paramedics from private EMS units were killed. This is the largest mass passing of emergency personnel in the history of the United States. Fire department service refers to a line of duty death as answering the last alarm. The striking of alarm bell 555 is the tradition of the fire service to signify one of our members has answered the last alarm. The fire department would now like to pay tribute to the heroes who performed so unselfishly that day, and to honor the hundreds of surviving family members and friends who must live with the loss this heinous and cowardly act has caused. At this time, I'd like to call uniformed services to attention. Salute. At ease. Once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking time out of your busy schedules.
We want to have the playing of God Bless America. Please feel free to join in.
America.
now have the benediction by Pastor Christine Bridge from the Zion Lutheran Church.
It is truly blessed to be here tonight, to be with you as we remember. Please bow your heads for the prayer. Creator of us all, even though we may name you by different names and worship you in different ways, unite us in this closing prayer. Give us strength and comfort, we pray. Give strength and comfort to all who mourn, giving them the peace that only you can give. Strengthen us, we pray, to be forces for good in this world, respecting and caring for one another. Now, as we leave this place of remembrance, we pray that you will take us safely home and protect us from all evil. Amen.
We'd like to thank the following organizations for the presentation of memorial wreaths here this evening. The Mayor and Council, VFW Post 2314 and Auxiliary, American Legion Post 263, Carteret Volunteer Fire Company 1 and 2, Carteret Elks Lodge 2235, Carteret PBA, Carteret Knights of Columbus, and the Carteret Rotary Club. We also like to thank Cub Scout Pack 88 for their support here this evening. Boy Scout Troop 88.
Just my children and my life. I thank my lucky stars to be living you today. Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died and gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend yourself today. Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston,